Hello, and welcome to Intuitive Nature, the podcast. My name is Susan Jane, and I believe that trusting your intuition is the best way to live your life with meaning and purpose. Each week, you will hear about how you can connect, develop, and trust your intuition through meditations, readings, and my own personal experiences. Join me to understand how your intuition can guide you towards a life full of meaning and loving purpose. Hello and welcome to Intuitive Nature, the podcast. I'm Susan Jane, the Intuitist, and I'll be your host for this Back to Basics series. Now this is episode 1.13, and it's a fun exercise in trusting your intuition, as I promised in the last podcast. But first, let's recap on what is intuition. Now, intuition is communication from our spiritual being to our physical body in order to create an action. It is how our spiritual being communicates with us because our spirit requires an action or a learning that can only be achieved whilst in a physical body. Now, for this exercise, you need to remember that we receive intuition in different ways: physically, mentally, emotionally, and visually. So for more in-depth understanding on the types of intuition, look at podcast 1.2 and that will give you an overall summary. However, for this exercise, you just need to be aware that you may experience your intuition as a mental thought, a visual impression, an emotional expression, or even a physical feeling. When we talk about trust, it can bring up all sorts of crazy ideas about what trust is and what it means. More often than not, we refer to trust as something that is external to us, such as, is that person trustworthy? Or, I don't trust this swing to hold me up. Yet, trust comes from within. If you don't trust yourself, then you cannot trust others. If you are not comfortable with you, then nothing else will give you comfort. Trust comes when we learn more about ourselves and our intuition. And the good part is, it can be practiced. So this fun example of trusting your intuition helps you understand the intuitive messages that are coming to you. We first take an analytical look or a physical approach as we look at an image. We ask ourselves, what does that mean to us? And we wait for the intuitive messages to come through. Okay, so this is where you'll receive them as a mental thought, a visual impression, emotional expression, or a physical feeling. Okay, let's get you ready while you're listening. What I want you to do is think about a goal that you want to achieve in the short term. I want you to really feel what it's going to be like when you achieve this goal. Get as many positive emotions flowing as possible. Imagine what you will look like. Imagine what your surroundings would look like, what your family are doing, what you are doing. Really feel what it will be like when you achieve this goal. Now, as you're experiencing these emotions, I want you to think of a flower that represents your achievement. It represents you achieving your goal. Notice its colour, its shape, and if you know what type it is. Okay, now I want you to Google that flower and find an image of it that creates a similar feeling. When I first did this, I only had the colours to go by, so I had to type in pink and white flowers into the Google search bar. I knew it was a circular shape, but I didn't really know what sort of flower it was. So it took quite a while to find the right one. And when I tried to change the size of the image, I lost the feeling. It was then that I knew that this was my intuition, and it was what my intuition wanted me to pick. So as you're looking for your flower, pause the podcast if you like, if you want to, while you're still looking. Or if you want to keep looking, I'm going to tell you about a friend of mine and how she understood what trusting her intuition meant. So my friend was experiencing tinnitus. So that's the ringing in the ears, that really annoying ringing, buzzing that you get in the ears. Now, she didn't quite know what to do with it, so she does what every good person does, and she Googled it. Now, there is this particular, what they call a bed drop on Google. And what it does, it breaks up the crystals that are in the ear canal, and which could be causing this tinnitus. So she looked it up, and you turn your head one side while you're sitting on the bed, and then you drop down. And it's meant to break up the crystals, which, it does work. It does work quite well. But it wasn't giving her the relief that she wanted. So she had tried that for a little while, and then she decided, no, she talked to somebody else, and they said they went to the doctors and they got some medication. So she went to the doctors and she asked for some medication. So she had some medication to try and ease this ringing in the ears. Again, still not getting the results that she was hoping for. And then she was on one of the social media platforms. I think she was on Facebook, and homeopath came up, and she thought, oh, there's an idea. I'll try homeopath. So she went and got some homeopathic remedies for it. And again, still didn't get quite the results that she wanted. Each time it was helping. Each time there was results, but not quite what she wanted. And then she connected back up with a friend who was a healer and was going to send some healing energy to her. This friend lived a distance away, so she was going to do it at a certain time and a certain day. So my friend then, on that particular day and that particular time, she laid herself down in the middle of the lounge room, got herself in a meditative state, and allowed the healing to take place. Now, when I was talking to her, she was really pleased with what had happened, and she couldn't talk more highly of this healer. And I said to her, but hang on, you've had a result from each of them, slightly different result from each of them. She's still doing the bed drops, and she was still taking the homeopathic remedies as well. I said to her, what do these 5 things have in common? The Google, the doctor, social media homeopath, your friend, the healer, and yourself. What do they all have in common? And she looked at me and went, I'm not sure. And I said, she was the thing that was in common. She was the main centre of all this. If she didn't try the bed drops, if she didn't go to the doctors, if she didn't seek the help of the homeopath and the healer, if she didn't put herself down ready to be healed, then none of that may have made any sense at all or made any difference at all. Her intuition was guiding her all the way along, making her or suggesting to her to try this, try that, see if this works, see if that works. And it was her intuition that was guiding her. So the 5 things that she had in common was the fact that she trusted herself enough to actually do all these. And in the long run, it has eased off her tinnitus to the state now where sometimes in the morning she might get a bit of a buzz, but nothing major. Now, again, she could have put the healer at the top of the rung and said, well, that's it, because that was the last thing that she did before, and her meditation, before she was healed. But the reality is, if she hadn't have gone through all those, if she hadn't followed her intuition, she may have never got to the healer. That's what it's all about. Trusting your intuition. It's all about having a try, having a look, just going with what your gut's saying, going with where you need to go. So once she realised that she was actually trusting her intuition all the way through that journey, it gave her a clearer understanding of who she was and why she experienced it. So that's that story, but now you should have your flowers ready to go. If you haven't, just pause me and come back. Or if you just want to listen, that's fine too. I just need to let you know there are over 16 elements in that flower image that you can get an understanding of. However, for today, we're only going to go through 5 of them. Now remember, your intuition picked this flower. You have not been limited to a deck of cards or a live flower that only grows in your area. You have had access to billions of flower images on the internet. And for some reason, you chose this one. Now, even if your image was of a rose, there is still millions of rose images out there that you can pick. There's the different colours, there's the different styles, there's different shapes, different types. So consequently, that flower image that you have in front of you is really, really important for you to achieve that goal. Your intuition is talking to you. Now, I'm going to give you the analytical aspect of it and the understanding of it, but I want your intuition to come through. This is about you learning to trust it. So the 5 areas that we're going to look at are the stem, which is your journey, the leaves, which is guides, petals, which are attraction, the centre of the flower, which is the heart, and the background, which is about its growing habits and your life habits. So let's start with the stem. Now, the first thing we look at when we're looking at flower reading, can you see the stem? Because if you can see the stem, then the journey is really important. If you've you've picked a flower that you can't see the stem, then the journey is not as important. Or you've already done the journey and you're going to be receiving that, achieving the goal very soon. So the journey may have already passed. Now, when we look at our stem, and even if you can't see the stem, you'll get an understanding of what that stem was like. Because if you have picked a daisy, they have a finer stem than, say, a rose. A standard rose has a very strong, heavy stem. A climbing rose has a lighter stem, a very short stem on a climbing branch. So we start to get an understanding of the journey that we've taken. With the flowers, with different flowers, say a blossom, we're looking at the beautiful little blossoms. They've got a really, really short journey, because they're basically coming straight off that branch. So let's look at the journey that you've had to come along to get to where your goal is. If you can see the stem, you've still got a bit of a journey to travel. If you can't, you're already there. We're ready to go. Now, when you've got a little bit of a journey to travel, is it a firm stem? Is it a winding stem? Is there branches coming off it? Have a look at those. Branches are suggesting that you've got decisions to make, choices to make. If you've got a single flower or if you've got multiple flowers, that means something different too. But if you've got a single flower, then you've got the single stem. If you've got multiple flowers, then you're going to have multiple stems. So that will all mean something a little bit different. And again, I can't see what you've got, so I can't, go right down into all the details. But basically, your stem is your journey. So get an understanding of that. Is it a branching? Is it winding? Is it straight? Is it firm? Is it solid? Is it soft? So what's your journey going to be like? Are you going to have to make many decisions along the way? Are you going to have an easy straight line to get to where you need to go? So that's all about the stem. Now, on the stem or along the stem or even in your image, it may not be on the stem. You could have leaves. Now, leaves are your guides in life. So when the leaf, now it doesn't necessarily have to be attached to the flower. It could be in the background, such as your guide. If the leaf is towards the top of the flower image, then it is more of a spiritual guide. If the leaf is to the bottom of the flower, then it is more of a physical guide. If the leaf is to the right of the flower, it's more coming towards you, so that's more of the future. If it's to the left of the flower, it's more towards the past, so that somebody you already know or somebody that's coming into your life. Now, the other thing about leaves is that we can look at the shape of them and the size of them, and the amount of them, and there's and the color of them, and it goes on. So again, these are the analytical aspects, but you will bring in the intuitive message that goes with it. Okay, so when you're looking at your stem or your leaf, you're bringing in your own intuitive message to it. When we're looking at the leaves, the rounder the leaf, the more feminine. The angled, long, elongated is the more masculine. Okay, so you've got that understanding straight away now. If your guide is going to be feminine or masculine. So if you had a flower such as the bird of paradise, they've got a very, very long, elongated leaf. So that would be very masculine, and it depends on where it is as far as your image goes. So that's the guides. Now, obviously, there could be few, there could be none. It just depends on what image you have picked. Again, there's so many elements there we need to look at, so I'm just giving you a bit of an overall. The next thing we can look at is the petals. Now, the petals are about attraction, what you need to do to attract your goal, or what you need to do for that type of attraction. Now, again, we can go into the shapes. Is it elongated? Are they long petals, which are more masculine? Are they more rounded petals, which are more feminine? And I mean, the shape of the flower could be round, or it could be more elongated, like the bird of paradise. It's very, very masculine in all the aspects of the bird of paradise, which is all about our behaviours, feminine and masculine behaviours, not necessarily male and female. So that's all about our behaviours. Masculine is very, very much a go-getter, get in, get it done, whereas a feminine are more nurturing and more passive, and they sort of are more guiding and helpful, may give you the right information, whereas the masculine will jump in and do it with you. Or for you. So there's that aspect. So when we're looking at attraction and you're looking at a masculine attraction, it means you need to get out there and say, here, this is what I want. This is what it's all about. And you want to be more vocal and more masculine in that aspect. So that can even be more extroverted rather than introverted. Whereas the petals being round and softer are more feminine. So they're suggesting that, you can be a bit more passive, you can be a bit more nurturing and loving in that form of attraction. So that's that side of it. Of course, the petals have colours too. What I might do is pop on my website my colour chart if you want to have a look at that. Look on the website, go to the resources button, and I'll pop it in the resources there, so you can just download the chart if you like. I might put that in there, and the numbers as well. So there's charts there that you can go with. Now, when you're looking at colours, this is really where your intuition kicks in, because on the chart there's a list of colours. So say it's a red flower or a white flower, there'll be like maybe 12 different meanings for what white is, purity. Oh gosh, I can't even think of them all. Oh, sorry, I can't think. But anyway, there's like there could be about 12 different things that you can pick out. And when I'm doing the workshops, I say to the ladies or the men, I say, pick a colour. You can see your flowers there. Pick something in there, one or two, that you feel match what you want, what you feel. So that's making them start to use their intuition. And that's what I want you to do. I want you to start to look at the colours and go, well, what does that colour mean to me? If you don't know what it means, you can Google it up. There's plenty on the internet for colours. Or again, go to my website, intuitivenature.com.au, and I'll have a resources area, and I'll have a download there that you can print off if you like, or download onto your laptop. Now, colours are something that are really, really particular for you. So don't be afraid to go, oh, well, I don't really know what it means. I'm just going to pick this one, because that's probably the right one, what it means for you. So when we're looking at that, we can also go into the colours. Like, you will find that not all flowers have one colour. They may be white on the outside and deep pink inside. So we have those different areas of how you're attracting to start with and how you have to change it as the attraction gets stronger. The next thing I want you to look at is the centre, the heart centre. Now, some flowers don't actually have a heart centre. If you've picked a hibiscus, frangipani, you will, there's another name for frangipani and I can't remember what it is, but you have a heart centre. Other ones have really big heart centres, like the sunflower has a huge centre. It's just about all heart centre, especially the ones that are grown for their seed. They're all heart centre. So the centre of the heart is more about your passion and your drive. It is also, if your goal was to attract a partner or to have a partner, to find a partner, that sort of thing, or to improve your relationship, you would really focus on the heart centre. If your goal, and what that meant, what it means to attract the right person and how you're going to keep the right person by the centre of your heart. If it was a financial goal, then it is all of the drive in the centre of your heart and how you maintain that money. So you could attract the money, the finances, or that's what you've got to do to attract it. But this is how you've got to retain it, which is what's in the centre, what's really in your heart. Now, that is showing who you really are. That can be, like I said, really big, really small, different colours, a lot of dark heart centres, because that's sort of going, I'm keeping it hidden, I'm keeping it, to myself. You will find on the flower image, say a bud of a rose, that's got the rose has got a heart centre, but because the image you've picked is of a bud, the heart isn't quite open yet. Okay, so you're not seeing the heart. If it was a hibiscus, it's like all big long hearts. They've got a really big big stamens and that really come out. So there's lots of different areas about that. Now, because there's so many, it's really hard to put it here in this podcast. But this is where I want your intuition to really start to kick in. How does it feel to you? How does your heart center feel to you on that image? If you can't see it, it's just maybe I haven't got all the information I need to open it right up yet. If you can see it, what does it look like? If it's a sunflower, it's like, oh my goodness, it's just so full. I did a reading recently for a lady, and her sunflower, she had a sunflower, and the outside of the heart, the seeds had started to come through, but the inside it hasn't. So you could see this heart center developing as it aged, as it grew, it slowly developed. So the seeds started coming out on the outside and they weren't coming through until a bit later on the inside. So it was really lovely to see that. And that's how my intuition interpreted it. Like as in, it's developing, it's growing, it's establishing itself. So that's how I saw the heart center. So there's the different types of heart centers. Again, sometimes the petals have little lines, like landing lines that take you to the heart center, So that would be like your beautiful lilies will have that. They'll often have the white lily will have that black line coming into it. It's almost like a landing, follow that way for that, like a little bee, whoever you're attracting. So we have that side of it. Now, the last one is probably that I'm going to cover off is the background and the habit. Now, this is all about the growth of the plant and what its background is. It's more about the plant background to give you an understanding of yours. Now, if you've picked a water lily, we know that the water lily grows in the murky waters, in the mud and the muck at the bottom of the water, or the creek dam. They don't grow in running water as much as they do in still water. So they've started here in this muck, mud and everything else, and they've actually grown through all the water. Now, water is emotions. They've got through all that emotions and they've blossomed at the top of it. So a water lily has had pretty tough sort of a run to get to blossom at the top. However, saying that and going through all those emotions, if that water wasn't there, the flower wouldn't stay up. So they need to have the support, that emotional support as well. So that's how we look at the background. When we look at the background of, say, a single red rose, now that is grown for cutting. That is grown to be given out. It is not, it is specially designed. So that goal may be a specially designed goal that just for that person. And they've got a strong stem and, beautiful growth habits, and they're designed to, they're grown in a particular way and all that sort of side of things. Other things that we look at is in the background is the culture as well. So when we look at the blossoms, the cherry blossoms, and we look at Japan and how the cherry blossoms start at the southern end and they just wave all the way up. And it's a big celebration, a big time in Japan for watching the blossoms, the cherry blossoms blossom. So that's another aspect of it. And you could look at that and go, well, is there that cultural background to it? Is there that understanding to it? So we have all these different things. Also, the background can be, is it a bush? Is it grown as a bush? Is it grown as a single flower? Is it grown as a field of flowers? We have all these other elements that we could look at, and it all helps us to get an understanding of who we are, what we are, and how we can achieve our emotional goal. But my main thing is, and the reason why we've done this is all about learning to trust your intuition. So your intuition has picked that flower. There's elements on that flower. It may be red, it may be yellow, it may be white, but there's elements in that flower that your intuition is going to pick. It picked red or yellow or white for a particular reason. What does that white flower mean? What does that red flower mean to you out of those 12 different things that it could be? And it could even be more than that. I've only put 12 on the sheet, on the chart. It could be more than that. It could mean something different to you. This is where we trust our intuition. This is where we get that feeling and that understanding. This is where we get that real in-depth knowledge of what we can trust and what we can't. Because these feelings, I know we're only doing them for a flower reading, but these feelings and these intuitive messages you're getting through just for this flower reading, you will start to feel for other things too. So when you do meet somebody and you go, they just don't, you start to go, that's my intuition talking. I'm going to go with that feeling. I'm not saying that they're a bad person. I'm just saying that they don't feel right for me. And I don't know why, but they don't feel right. That's following your gut. That's following your intuition. That's trusting you, not anyone else. Trusting you. You don't need to trust anyone else. You just need to trust you. Because if you trust you, you know that whatever you're feeling, whatever you're picking up from those other people, that's the right thing for you. So with your flower, I'd love to see your flower images. I really would. It's actually quite challenging not to see the visuals. So I'm feeling for you. If you want to send me your flowers, I'd love to see that. Just what's my email address? It is intuitiveflowers@gmail.com. You can send it there. Send it to intuitiveflowers@gmail.com, and I will have a quick look for you if you like and let you know. But don't send it as an attachment. Send it in the email, because attachments can have viruses and all sorts of stuff. So if you send it in the email, I can then have a look at it without actually having to open anything and click on anything apart from opening the email. So it's just a safety factor. Right. Oh gosh, I've talked so much. I've got to stop. So learning to trust your intuition. When we learn to trust our intuition, these types of simple, fun methods give us an understanding of how our intuition relates to us. So what we do is we can analytically look at something, say it's round, solid, made of metal, such as a ring, and receive an intuitive message about it. Your relationship is moving forward in another step. You are currently on a positive cycle. I don't know, whatever it means to you, your intuition will bring that through. And it's usually the first thing that pops into your mind. So if something pops into your mind, really sit with that, go with that, because that's your intuition. That's the first thing that comes up really quickly. So I hope you've enjoyed that. These are just the little things that, the little tools that we have here at Intuitive Nature to help you learn to connect, develop, and trust your intuition. I'm going to be doing personal flower readings. I haven't got it all set up yet, but I can do it. I mean, I do it at home, but I'm thinking of doing a little bit more internationally for you, especially if you've really connected with your emotional goal. If you've really connected, you're laughing. You're really going to get that. But next week, which would be podcast 1.14, I don't actually have a subject for it yet because I've been getting a lot of downloads lately, and consequently I want to wait to see what the next week brings before I decide on what to talk about. I've got a funny feeling someone's going to connect with me and we're going to be able to talk about whatever that is. So if you would like to drop me an email, do so. Send the flowers to intuitiveflowers@gmail.com. But if you've got any other information that you want as far as Intuitive Nature goes, I have the email info@intuitivenature.com.au. Or jump onto the website intuitivenature.com.au and leave a comment. If I can help in any way, I would love to. So remember, we are all naturally intuitive. It is part of human nature. It is our intuitive nature. And I'm Susan Jane, the Intuitist. I thank you so much for listening. Have a great day. Bye for now.